Right now, while you're listening to this, one half of your brain is strangling the other half, and a Nobel Prize-winning experiment proved it. The Bible told this story thousands of years before neuroscience caught up. You know it as Cain and Abel, Genesis chapter 4. A brother murders a brother in a field. You were told this was the first crime in human history. It's not a crime story, it's a diagnosis. Here's the story the way you learned it. Adam and Eve have two sons. Cain is a farmer. He tills the ground. Abel is a shepherd. He keeps sheep. Both of them bring an offering to God. Abel brings the firstborn of his flock. Cain brings some fruit from the ground. And God accepts Abel's offering but rejects Cain's. No explanation. Just, no thanks. Cain gets angry. His countenance falls. God warns him. Sin is crouching at the door, but Cain takes Abel out into the field, and he kills him. God shows up. Genesis chapter 4, verse 9. Where is Abel thy brother? And Cain gives the most famous dodge in history. Am I my brother's keeper? God curses Cain. The ground won't produce for him anymore. He'll be a fugitive and a vagabond. But then God does something strange. He puts a mark on Cain, not a punishment, protection, sevenfold vengeance on anyone who touches him. And Cain goes east of Eden to a place called Nod, finds a wife, and builds a city. That's the story. Now let's think about it for 5 seconds. So the creator of the entire universe, the intelligence that made every atom in existence, has food preferences. Cain brings fresh produce, and God says, I don't want that. I want the dead animal. That's your God? He's pickier than a 5-year-old at a dinner table? Really think about that for a second. Next, God says to Cain, yes, where is Abel thy brother? 1 verse later, God says the blood is crying from the ground. He already knows, so why is he asking? An all-knowing being asking a question he already has the answer to. If this is literal history, God has memory problems. If it means something else, then the question serves a totally different purpose. Now here's where it falls apart completely. Cain says, everyone that findeth me shall slay me. Everyone? Who is everyone? Adam, Eve, and Cain. That's it. That's the whole human population of Earth. Abel is dead. Cain is afraid that everyone will kill him. Everyone is 2 people. One of them is his mother. And then Cain finds a wife. Where? There are 3 people on Earth. Then he builds a city. A city for whom? You don't build a city for 3 people. That's not a city. That's a house. The text is not describing population history. It never was. And then God protects the murderer. He just cursed Cain, and now he puts divine witness protection on him. 7-fold vengeance on anyone who harms him. He killed his own brother, and God gives him a security detail. Either God has no moral compass, or this story is not about what you've been told. So what is it about? Cain and Abel are not people. They never were. They are 2 modes of consciousness that exist inside every human brain. The name Cain means to acquire, to possess, to fabricate. He's the mind that grasps, the mind that takes, the mind that builds and forges things in the material world. He tills the ground. He works the dirt. The name Abel means breath. That's it, breath, vapor. Something so subtle you can barely see it. Something that can be extinguished in an instant. Abel is the quiet awareness that most people don't even know they have. He keeps sheep. He tends living things. His offering rises up naturally and is accepted. And this murder happens in the field. Now look at what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 13, verse 38. He gives you the definition himself. The field is the world. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, Krishna says the exact same thing. This body is called the field. The murder doesn't happen in a pasture. It happens inside you. Paul names them directly, Romans chapter 8, verse 6. To be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Verse 7. The carnal mind is enmity against God. There they are, two minds. One leads to death, one leads to life. One is at war with God, the other is at peace with God. Cain and Abel. God rejects Cain's offering because the analytical material mind alone cannot reach higher consciousness. No amount of intellectual work, no amount of tilling the ground can produce what arises naturally from the intuitive mind. You cannot think your way to what Abel offers. The murder is this. Every time the internal monologue fires, every time you analyze instead of perceive, every time you label instead of experience, Cain rises up against Abel in the field of your body. Not once, not in ancient history, right now, constantly. And after the murder, Cain becomes a fugitive and a vagabond. He goes to live in a place called Nod. Look up the word. Nod means wandering. He's condemned to the land of ceaseless wandering. That's the mind that never stops. The mind that wakes you up at 3 a.m. going over your to-do list. The mind that replays conversations from 6 years ago. That's where Cain lives. That's where most of us live. In 1981, a man named Roger Sperry won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine at the California Institute of Technology. He had spent decades studying patients whose corpus callosum had been surgically cut. That's the bridge between the two halves of the brain. Doctors severed it to treat epilepsy. And what Sperry discovered changed everything. The left hemisphere handles language, speech, analytical processing, math. It's the half that talks. The right hemisphere is, and this is the key, mute. It cannot speak. But Sperry proved it is fully conscious. It sees faces. It understands space. It perceives the whole picture. Sperry's exact words were that it is a conscious system in its own right, perceiving, thinking, remembering, reasoning, willing, and emoting, all at a characteristically human level. Abel can't speak. He is the silent brother. He is fully alive, fully aware, but mute. And Cain, the talkative one, the analytical one, the one who always has an answer, dominates every conversation. Then one of Sperry's students, Michael Gazzaniga, discovered something even more revealing. He found what he called the left brain interpreter. Here's the experiment. They showed a chicken claw to the left hemisphere and a snow scene to the right. The patient chose a chicken with the right hand and a shovel with the left. Makes sense so far? But when they asked why, the patient said, "The chicken claw goes with the chicken, and you need a shovel to clean out the chicken shed." The left hemisphere made up a story on the spot, rather than admit it didn't know. It fabricated a narrative. That is Cain, the tiller of the ground, the mind that always has an answer, the mind that invents explanations and never once considers that there might be a way of knowing that doesn't require thinking. Bill Donahue taught this for years. The two minds at war inside you. Now, a psychiatrist named Ian McGilchrist put the whole picture together. He's a fellow of All Souls College, Oxford, research fellow at Johns Hopkins. He spent 20 years writing a 600-page book called The Master and His Emissary, published by Yale University Press. His thesis is this: the right hemisphere is the master, broad awareness, empathy, connection to lived reality. The left hemisphere is the emissary, sent out by the master to handle focused tasks, analyze, categorize, get things done. The emissary was supposed to serve the master. Instead, it took over. It believes it is the entire mind. It killed the master, and now it runs civilization. Do you hear that? Abel is the master. Cain is the emissary. The emissary killed the master, And then the emissary built a city on the grave. That's Genesis chapter 4, verse 17. And here's the anatomy that makes it physical. The corpus callosum, 200 million nerve fibers, the biggest white matter structure in your brain. You'd think it's a bridge between the two sides. And it is. But McGilchrist discovered that the main purpose of most of those connections is to inhibit, to stop the other hemisphere from interfering. The bridge between the brothers is mostly a wall. Cain doesn't kill Abel once. The left hemisphere suppresses the right hemisphere continuously through the very structure that's supposed to connect them. And it's not just the Bible. In Rome, Romulus kills Remus, then builds Rome. Brother kills brother, then founds civilization. St. Augustine made this exact comparison in 426 AD. In Egypt, Set kills Osiris. Jealous brother murders the wise, intuitive brother. The Hebrew name Seth and the Egyptian Set carry a striking resemblance that ancient readers would not have missed. In India, the Bhagavad Gita describes a war between family members on the field of Kurukshetra, and Krishna tells Arjuna, "This body is the field." In Greece, Nietzsche showed how Apollo, reason and order, destroyed Dionysus, ecstasy and intuition, and McGilchrist maps that directly onto hemisphere research. In Persia, Zoroastrianism names one of the chief agents of destruction, aka Mana. That means evil mind. The destructive force expresses itself through disordered thought. Rome, Egypt, India, Greece, Persia, Israel. 6 civilizations, thousands of miles apart, thousands of years apart, all telling the same story. A brother kills a brother. The material analytical principle destroys the intuitive, holistic principle, and then the killer builds a civilization on the grave. That's not coincidence, that's a diagnosis. Let's put names on the anatomy. Your left hemisphere is where language lives. 2 areas called Broca's area and Wernicke's area. Sperry's split brain research, confirmed by modern brain imaging at the National Institutes of Health, shows that in 96% of right-handed people, all speech production is in the left side. That's the hemisphere that talks, that narrates, that tells you the story of your life all day long. Cain, the tiller, the builder, the one who always has an answer. Your right hemisphere handles spatial awareness, facial recognition, emotional understanding, and holistic perception. It sees the whole picture. It reads the room. It feels what words can't express, and it can't speak. Abel, the silent keeper of sheep, now, the amygdala. That word comes from the Greek for almond. It's an almond-shaped structure in your brain that processes fear and aggression. It fires in less than half a second. Before you even know you're angry, the amygdala has already pulled the trigger. Genesis chapter 4, verse 5. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. That's the amygdala firing. Verse 7. Sin lieth at the door. The amygdala is the door. Sin, reactive emotion, crouches at the neurological threshold where anger hijacks your choices before you even know what happened. And finally, the default mode network, named by Marcus Reichley at Washington University in 2001. This is the brain's wandering engine. It activates when you're not doing anything specific. It's self-referential thought, rumination, mental chatter, the voice in your head that never stops. And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod. Nod means wandering. The default mode network is the land of Nod. It is the neural territory of ceaseless, restless mental noise. And that's where most human beings spend their entire lives. So how do you bring Abel back? Every tradition gives the same instruction. Psalm 46, verse 10. Be still and know that I am God. That word still doesn't mean quiet. It means cease, let go, become slack. Stop all activity of the analytical mind. In the stillness, higher consciousness is known, not through thinking, through the absence of thinking. Matthew chapter 6, verse 22. Jesus says, "If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light." The single eye. When the two modes of consciousness become one, when the two hemispheres synchronize instead of fighting, when Cain and Abel stop warring and start cooperating, the whole body fills with light. That's not poetry. That's what happens in your brain when you meditate. The science confirms it. Judson Brewer at Yale showed in 2011 that meditation deactivates the default mode network. The wandering stops, Cain leaves the land of Nod. EEG studies by Travis and Wallace and Dilbeck and Bronson show that the two hemispheres synchronize during meditation. The brothers reconcile. Britta Holzel showed in 2010 that 8 weeks of meditation physically shrinks the amygdala. Cain's anger center gets smaller. Tang and colleagues published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in 2010 that after just 4 weeks of practice, white matter connectivity in the brain measurably increases. The wall starts becoming a bridge, and at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, Richard Davidson studied Tibetan monks with over 10,000 hours of practice. Their gamma wave coherence was 25 times stronger than people who had never meditated. Both hemispheres firing in unison. Both brothers alive and working together. So here's what you do. Tonight, find a dark room, sit down, close your eyes, don't pray, don't think, don't ask for anything. Just be still. Focus on the point between your eyebrows, the single eye, and listen to your breath. Breath, that's what Abel means. His name is breath. You are literally calling Abel back from the dead every time you sit in silence and return to the breath. Matthew chapter 6, verse 6. Enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret. The closet is the inner space. Shut the door means close the senses. Go inside. The analytical mind will fight you. It will scream at you. It will remind you of your to-do list. It will replay arguments from last week. It will tell you this is stupid and you should get up. That's Cain. He doesn't want Abel to come back. He's been running things alone for a very long time. But Abel is your breath. And as long as you're breathing, Abel is not dead. He's waiting. This is what Bill Donahue taught for decades through Hidden Meanings. The war inside your own head is the oldest story ever told, because every civilization that ever existed discovered it and wrote it down. It's not religion, it's not theology, it's anatomy, it's physics. It's happening inside your skull right now. You have two minds. One talks all day. The other one has been silent your whole life. The Bible gave them names 3,000 years ago, and it told you which one is worth listening to.